often shrouded in silence and stigma, is a pervasive issue that transcends beyond geographical boundaries, socioeconomic status, and cultural norms. It is defined as a pattern of coercive behaviors used by one partner to maintain power and to control over another within an intimate relationship. Despite the concerted effort to combat this scourge, domestic abuse continue to afflict individuals and families worldwide. It actually leaving behind a trail of devastation and long-term trauma. In Malaysia, domestic violence actually remain a pressing concern, with statistics painting a grim picture of its prevalence and impact. It's shedding light on the magnitude of the problem within this country. Some factors contributing to the perpetuation of domestic violence are actually ranging from socio-cultural norms that perpetuate gender inequality to systemic barriers that hinders access to justice and support services. The financial problems and third-party involvement, like from family, emerge as primary catalysts for domestic violence, as highlighted by our Minister of Women, Family and Community Development, Puan Nancy Shukri. The economic stressor exacerbate tension within household, leading to heightened level of conflict and aggression. Additionally, the intrusion of external influences, such as relatives and acquaintances, it can actually further exacerbate power imbalance and fuel abusive behavior. This alarming prevalence of domestic violence underscore the urgent need for comprehensive understanding of its underlying dynamic and consequences. One research published in BMC Public Health emphasized the far-reaching implication of domestic abuse on physical and mental health, underscoring its status as a public health issue of significant concern. The victim of domestic violence often endure long-lasting psychological trauma. They will actually manifested in symptoms of anxiety, depression, and sometimes post-traumatic stress disorder, or we known as PTSD. In light of the multifaceted nature of domestic abuse, an interdisciplinary approach is imperative to unravel the complexities and devise effective intervention strategies. Collaborative effort between government agencies, non-government organizations, the NGOs, the healthcare professional, law enforcement agencies, and community stakeholders are actually essential to provide holistic support to survivors and prevent further instances of violence. This report seeks to explore the intricacies of domestic abuse within the Malaysian context. It draws upon empirical evidence, theoretical framework, and qualitative insight to inform the policy recommendation and best practices. By shedding light on the root cause, manifestation, and consequences of domestic violence, this report endeavors to contribute to ongoing effort to eradicate this pervasive social ill and create a safer, more equitable society for all. Comprehensive understanding of the issue by delving into definition, prevalence, and manifestation of domestic abuse in Malaysia. This objective entails a thorough examination of domestic abuse as multifaceted phenomenon encompassing physical violence, emotional manipulation, sexual coercion, and financial control. By exploring the diverse experiences of survivors and the complex dynamic of abusive relationship, this study seeks to elucidate the nuanced nature of domestic abuse and its impact on individual, families, and to us, the communities. Number 2, we are going to analyze the variables that contribute to the perpetuation of domestic abuse in Malaysia, with a focus on socio-environmental, individual, and interpersonal factors. This objective entails a critical examination of the root cause and contextual determinant of domestic abuse, including but not limited to socioeconomic disparities, culture norm, gender inequality, and institutional failures. By interrogating the interplay of this variable, this study aims to identify key risk factors and structural barriers that perpetuate abusive dynamic, informing targeted intervention and policy reform aimed at prevention and mitigation. And number 3, to assess the effect of domestic abuse on survivor physical health, mental well-being, and social functioning, as well as its broader societal ramification. This objective involves a comprehensive review of empirical research and testimonies from survivors, shedding light on the profound and enduring consequences of domestic abuse across multiple domains. By examining the ripple effect of abuse on survivors, their families, and society at large, this report will seek to underscore the urgent need for holistic support services, trauma-informed care, and advocacy effort aimed at promoting healing, resilience, and social justice. In summary, this report aim to advance understanding of the complex dynamic of domestic abuse in Malaysia, providing valuable insight into its definition, determinant, and the consequences. By addressing this objective, this report will seek to inform evidence-based intervention, policy reform, and advocacy initiative aimed at preventing and addressing domestic abuse, safeguarding the right and well-being of survivors, and also fostering a society free from violence and coercion.
Understanding this term is crucial in recognizing and addressing this pervasive issue that affects countless individuals worldwide. The first term is domestic violence. Domestic violence refers to a pattern of abusive behavior where one partner seeks to control other through the various means. This can be include physical, emotional, psychological, sexual, or financial abuse. For instance, physical abuse will involve the use of force to harm or intimidate, while emotional abuse may involve threats, insult, or isolation. The second term is physical abuse. Physical abuse entails using physical force to inflict harm or injury upon another person. This can include hitting, slapping, punching, kicking, or any other act of cause bodily harm. An example of physical abuse is when partners strike or physically assault their significant other, causing bruises, cuts, or other injuries. The next term is emotional or physical abuse. Emotional or physical abuse involves non-physical action aimed at controlling, intimidating, or belittling another person. This can include verbal threats, constant criticism, manipulation, or isolation. For instance, emotional eating or belittling another person. This can include verbal threats, constant criticism, manipulation, or isolation. For instance, emotional abuse may manifest as a partner constantly demeaning or undermining self-worth, leading to emotional distress. The next term is sexual abuse. Sexual abuse encompasses any non-consensual sexual activity or conduct including rape, coercion, or harassment. It also includes pressuring or forcing a partner into unwanted sexual acts. For example, sexual abuse is when a partner engages in sexual activity without other consent or use manipulation or threats to cause into sexual acts. Economic or financial abuse involve controlling or restricting another person's access to financial resources, employment, or education. This can include withholding money, sabotaging job opportunity, or preventing financial independence. For example, economic abuse may occur when a partner controls all the finances, leaving the other financially dependent, unable to access resources. Understanding this term is essential for recognizing the signs of domestic violence and providing support to those in need. By shedding light to this definition, we can work toward creating a safer and more supportive environment for everyone.
Alright, now we've known what domestic abuse is. But how and why does it occur? There are many reasons as to why it transpires. The first one is interpersonal conflict, which in most cases involves third parties. These third parties can be within or outside of family relations. The second one is financial issues caused by shifts in the economy. Economic shifts can cause financial difficulties and burden. Those affected may feel overwhelmed with their emotions and tend to feel helpless, which can lead to them displacing their emotions to something less threatening. The third one is to attain power and control in a relationship. This is one of the most common causes of domestic abuse. It occurs when the partner wishes to gain full control of the relationship, to maintain that control, and ensure obedience. The final one is having past experiences with abuse or isolation. Those who have been through abuse or were neglected, usually when they were a child, tend to be abusive as they grow older. This can be seen as the term of vengeance. To summarize, there are myriad causes to domestic abuse. Whatever the cause to such a crime should not be tolerated, as it could potentially impact society in many different ways. Thank you very much.
Hey everyone, I'm Kumaran. Today I will be discussing the profound impact of domestic abuse on Malaysian society, encompassing various critical areas such as healthcare, workplace productivity, intergenerational cycles, social services, and legal challenges. Starting with healthcare, domestic abuse leads to severe physical injuries and significant psychological trauma. Survivors often need extensive medical care, which places a considerable strain on our healthcare resources. Beyond the immediate physical harm, many survivors suffer from long-term mental health issues such as depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. Addressing these needs requires not only medical interventions but also comprehensive mental health services to help survivors heal and rebuild their lives. Moving on to the workplace, the impact of domestic abuse extends into employment and productivity. Survivors frequently struggle with maintaining their jobs due to the trauma they have endured, leading to higher rates of absenteeism and inefficiency. This in turn results in a significant loss of productivity and higher turnover rates for employers. To mitigate this, it is crucial for workplaces to create supportive environments. This includes offering flexible work arrangements, providing access to counseling services, and fostering a culture that understands and supports survivors. By doing so, employers can help survivors regain stability and contribute effectively to the workforce. Next, let's consider the intergenerational cycles of violence. Domestic abuse doesn't only affect the immediate victim, it can perpetuate cycles of violence that impact future generations. Children who witness or experience domestic violence are at a higher risk of developing behavioral disorders and mental health issues. These children might grow up believing that violence is a normal part of relationships, perpetuating the cycle of abuse. Breaking this cycle requires early intervention, education, and support for both the children and their non-abusive caregivers. The demand for resources such as shelters, counseling, and financial assistance is continually growing, but the available resources are often limited. This leads to a strain on social services, making it difficult to provide adequate support to all survivors. Strengthening social service infrastructure is essential to adequately support survivors. This involves increasing funding, improving access to services, and ensuring that support systems are robust and effective. Before we move on, the impact of domestic abuse on Malaysian society is profound and multifaceted. It affects healthcare systems, workplace productivity, social services, and the legal system. Addressing the issue requires a comprehensive and coordinated approach across various sectors. By working together, we can support survivors, break the cycle of abuse, and create a safer, healthier society for all. Thank you for listening.
Statistics of domestic abuse in Malaysia reflects a dynamic pattern over recent years. In 2019, 5,657 reported cases reveal a significant issue as people were more aware and reporting got better. In 2020, there was a small drop to 5,260 cases. This was because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the movement control order made it harder for people to report abuse because they were isolated. However, in 2021, there was a significant increase to 7,468 cases. This happened because of the long-lasting effects of the pandemic, financial strain, and increased tension within households. By 2022, cases slightly decreased to 6,540. This occurred due to initiatives such as the Wajah Squad, which helped victims and improved reporting. Even with this progress, the number of cases stay high, showing that domestic violence continued to be a persistent issue. Moving to 2023, there was another decrease to 5,507 cases. This happened because the government and communities kept working hard, carrying out activities such as awareness campaigns and providing legal support. Moreover, these changes show how society, the economy, and government policies affect domestic abuse. This underlines the ongoing importance of working together to help victims, which make people more aware and enforce laws. Last but not least, collaboration between the Malaysian government and community organization is essential to ensure the creation of a safe environment for all individuals.
Domestic violence is a pervasive issue that affects individuals of all ages, genders, and backgrounds. Despite the efforts of authorities and non-governmental organizations to address the issue, domestic violence remains a significant challenge in Malaysia. Today, we will explore key insights from 3 articles that shed light on this issue and provide recommendations for addressing it. The first article, titled "Parents Are Physically Abused," which was published in the Star News, highlights the issue of physical abuse faced by parents in Malaysia. It reveals that at least 4 parents experience physical abuse every day, emphasizing the urgent need for attention and intervention. Additionally, over 1/5 of women in Malaysia are victims of domestic violence, underscoring the need for increased attention to domestic violence within families. Authorities and NGOs are collaborating to support victims and prevent further instances of domestic violence. The second article, "Financial Problems and Third-Party Involvement," published in the Malay Mail News, identifies financial problems and third-party involvement as primary cause of domestic violence in Malaysia. Datuk Seri Nancy Shukri, the Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, reveals recent police data indicating a significant increase in reported cases of domestic violence. This underscores the need to address root causes such as financial difficulties and external interference. Programs like Semasa Squad Wajak Sarawak aims to tackle these challenges by raising awareness and providing support to victims. The third article, that was published in Free Malaysia News, titled "Cultural Shift Needed to Reduce Domestic Violence," advocates for a cultural shift in Malaysia to effectively reduce domestic violence. Activists emphasize the importance of challenging societal norms that perpetuate violence and desensitize individuals to abusive behaviors. These women's aid organizations played a pivotal role in supporting victims, advocating for policy changes, and raising awareness about domestic violence. Society's responsibility in identifying and combating domestic violence is highlighted, emphasizing the crucial role of community involvement. Collectively, these articles provide valuable insights into multifaceted issues of domestic violence in Malaysia. They underscore the need to address root causes, promote awareness, and foster community engagement to effectively combat domestic violence. A cultural shift towards intolerance of abuse and promotion of healthy relationships is crucial and important in combating domestic violence effectively. Education awareness and community involvement are the key in driving positive change and reducing the incidence of domestic violence. In conclusion, it is vital that we all commit to challenging harmful norms, supporting victims, and advocating for policies that promote a safe and violence-free environment for all individuals in Malaysia.
So next, we're going to analyze domestic abuse from the perspective of Islamic philosophy. We're going to start with theological foundation against abuse. So first, we have Surah An-Nisa, which emphasizes on the kindness and prohibition of cruelty toward women. So this verse highlight the prohibition of force and assault in the family interaction, which set a clear standard for the treatment of family members, especially toward women. God instruct men to live together with their wife in kindness and equality. The Quran emphasizes on the importance of harmonious relationship between husband and wife. God has created spouse for each other so that they may live in peace and love with compassion and kindness in their heart. Certain verses in Quran acknowledge the harmonious aspect of marriage by portraying couple as a garment for each other and emphasizing that men and women serve as a guardian for one and another. Therefore, between spouse, both need to show proper etiquette in their communication and in their behavior. Was stated in the Quran, both men and women are granted equal right. So Islam acknowledges their inherent difference in abilities and qualities, physical, emotional, between men and women. So the life of Prophet Muhammad serves as a prime example for Muslims to follow. This historical background portrays how domestic violence as a deviation from true Islamic morality. So Prophet Muhammad prioritized kindness, respect, and compassion toward his wife and children. His conduct served as a prime example of an ideal family dynamic, characterized by the prevalence of compassion and the complete absence of abuse. So the Prophet Muhammad's wife said, he never physically harmed a servant or a lady, and he never used his hand to strike anything. And Prophet Muhammad SAW once advised his friend, provide them with the same food and attire that you provide for yourself. Refrain from physical assaulting them and avoid using offensive words toward them. This highlights the irrationality of causing harm to one spouse. Islam not only forbids physical abuse but also verbal abuse and public humiliation. In fact, there is a ban of causing a woman physical and non-physical injury. So Islamic philosophy strongly denounces domestic abuse and promotes a society in which all persons, particularly women and children, can live without fear or injury. So for our second analysis, we're going to analyze domestic abuse from the perspective of feminist philosophy. Patriarchy played an important role in reinforcing power imbalance and gender inequity. Do you know that the patriarchy is the one that associates power with male and weakness with female, which further strengthening the submissive position of women, which further strengthened by act of domestic violence. So, for example, they define masculinity in the term of violence and femininity in a more passive term. Do you see that disparity in domestic violence stem from the notion that our society enforces the idea that men possess the power and entitlement to dominate the intimate relationship. And from feminist perspective, this is a consequence of gender inequity perpetuated by the patriarchy. According to Kate Millett, there is a power dynamic that enables one group to exert dominance over another based on gender. And in patriarchal culture, the relationship between men and women is categorized by male dominance and female subjugation. Without us knowing, men and women are conditioned by the society to shape their personality in a way that aligns with traditional masculinity and feminine trait, which lead to big power imbalance. So for example, masculinity is categorized by qualities such as intelligence and assertiveness, whereas femininity is categorized by qualities such as passiveness and docility. And here, feminists has criticized the Malaysian judicial system for its occasional delay and insufficient reaction to domestic abuse, highlighting that this mirror an underlying social attitude that do not emphasize the protection and independence of women.
Now, I'm going to talk about the national principles and how they're associated with domestic violence. Rukun Negara, or the national principles, highlights Malaysia's core principles. While it does not specifically address domestic violence, we may draw parallels between these ideals and the need to resist abuse within households. There are 5 principles: belief in God, loyalty to the king and country, conformity to the constitution, sovereignty of law, and courtesy. Now, in short, all of these principles can help in battling domestic abuse in Malaysia, but I will only discuss 2 of them. The first one is sovereignty of law. In other words, it states that no one is above the law, and those who challenges the law will face the consequences. Now, there's a special act for this domestic violence in Malaysia, which is known as the Domestic Violence Act, DVA 1994. This act states that victims of domestic violence will be protected, whereas the criminal will be imprisoned. The second one is courtesy. For so many different cultures, races, and backgrounds to coexist in one nation, it surely seems something impossible to accomplish, right? Well, not for Malaysia. This principle emphasizes on mutual respect and encourages moral principles. This is crucial for Malaysians, as respecting other cultures can promote peace and avoid potential conflicts. In summary, the principles are not just values, but they serve as guidelines for Malaysians to create a peaceful, prosperous, and harmonious nation. guiding actions and decisions and highlighting shared values as well as aspirations that unite the people. Thank you very much.
Now I will share the key findings from our research on domestic abuse in Malaysia. We will cover 4 main areas: understanding and awareness, law enforcement, community enforcement, education, and the links between different and type of abuse. Let's look at each of these topics. Our research has greatly improved the understanding of domestic abuse in Malaysia and changed how we perceive this issue. We found that increased awareness helped recognize the different forms of domestic abuse and its serious impact on the victim. This better understanding is crucial for crafting more effective ways to help those affected. One key is the gap between existing law and how they are enforced. Even though we have law to protect victims of domestic abuse, they are often not well enforced. This shows that the need stronger enforcement and public education. Better enforcement and awareness can protect victims more effectively and ensure justice is served. Community enforcement and education are essential in tackling domestic abuse. Our research shows that awareness programs and support from non-profit are crucial in helping victims. However, these programs need more support and recognition from both public and private sector. Strengthening community and involved can create more supportive environment for victims and help prevent abuse. Our study also found that various types of abuse like stalking and sexual harassment are connected to domestic violence. This highlights need for comprehensive prevention and strong support system. Addressing this interconnected form of abuse together can lead better strategies for preventing domestic violence and supporting victims. In conclusion, our research provides valuable insight to domestic abuse in Malaysia. While understanding awareness are improved, there are still significant gaps in legal enforcement and community support. By addressing this gap and recognize how different forms of abuse are connected, we can work towards more effective prevention and support for victims. Thank you for your time. Let's work together to create a safer and supportive environment for all those affected by domestic abuse. Now, we'll be sharing what we learned about domestic abuse in Malaysia. At first, we had the trouble to understand the topic and organizing our report. We solved this by splitting the word evenly and using universal word for writing and Canva for our slides. Our research gave us a deep understanding of domestic abuse in Malaysia. We found that it has a severe impact on women and children, showing the need for effective help and support system. We also saw how gender plays a big role in domestic abuse. There are strong need for solutions that consider gender and differences. We found a big gaps in the current law and their enforcement, pointing to the need for a better public awareness and stricter law enforcement. Community involvement is crucial. Education and support system, non-profit are the key. We believe a broad approach are needed to address domestic abuse, including tackling related issues. In summary, our research highlights the complex nature of domestic abuse in Malaysia and the need for multifaceted approach. By understanding its impact, addressing gender issues, improving law, and engaging community, we can create an effective response for domestic abuse. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Mohammed. The solution of domestic violence in Malaysia. One crucial element is the creation of one-stop crisis centers or CCC in numerous hospitals, offering a comprehensive and unified approach to domestic abuse incidents. Victims can file police report at these centers located within the hospitals, which can reduce the accommodation and logistical challenges of going to a police station. Having quick access to law enforcement is essential to ensure that victims are promptly protected and criminals are directly held accountable. CCCs are manned by medical social workers or social welfare officers who have a crucial role in arranging holistic care for victims. These experts provide access to various services such as police protection for urgent safety and temporary housings for victims needing a secure haven away from their abuse. In addition to provide victims with critical legal assistance, they also assist victims in understanding their rights and navigating the legal processes, such as initiating protective orders. Providing victims with counseling services help them with the trauma they have experienced and facilitates their emotional and physical recovery. It is possible for victims to receive medical treatment without the requirement of filling a police report. This gives victims the opportunity to access healthcare without the stress of legal proceedings on their shoulders. In the event that they are not yet prepared to take that step. This method acknowledges the inclusive and individualized aspects of domestic abuse cases, honoring the independence of victims in determining the timing and manner of involving law enforcement. In addition to medical and legal aid, there are several initiatives to improve the support system for victims of domestic abuse. Public awareness and education initiatives are crucial in clarifying the health seeking processes and motivating more victims to go forward. It is crucial to train healthcare providers to identify and react properly to indicators of domestic abuse to guarantee that victims are provided with compassionate and knowledgeable assistance. Interdisciplinary teamwork is a crucial component where healthcare specialists, police enforcement, social services work together to handle all areas of victims' need completely. Maintaining anonymity and addressing cases with sensitivity are crucial for building trust and encouraging victims to seek assistance. Continual assistance is also essential for extended recuperation of individuals affected. This may involve periodic visits by social workers, participation in support groups, and ongoing legal and physiological assistance via rehabilitation. Engaging community leaders and organizing and addressing domestic abuse can strengthen the support network by providing additional resources and support mechanisms outside of the hospital environment. Pushing for more stringent laws and policies is vital to enhance victim protection and ensure that offenders are held accountable. This requires the development of robust legal frameworks, effective enforcement, and adequate resources dedicated law enforcement and victim support. Malaysia's comprehensive approach to tackling domestic violence, which includes hospital-based one-stop crisis centers or OCCC and a diverse range of support services. These strategies aims to provide immediate help and long-term solution for victims, focusing on their safety, health, and overall well-being. Additionally, it seeks to establish a system that holds perpetrators accountable and works to prevent future abuse. Thank you.
So in conclusion, combating domestic abuse in Malaysia necessitates a multifaceted approach that includes legal, social and cultural measures. Strengthening legal frameworks and ensuring their effective execution are critical for holding criminals accountable and protecting victims. Community education programs are essential for challenging harmful norms and encourage healthy partnerships. Furthermore, tackling underlying socio-economic concerns such as poverty and inequality can aid in breaking the cycles of violence. Cultural reforms such as challenging all gender norms and promoting attitudes of respect and equality are equally vital. Malaysia can get closer to a culture in which domestic violence is rejected, victims are supported, and all people can live safely
and fearlessly by engaging various stakeholders and establishing a collaborative commitment to change.